Inspire with Nendrix, the foundation.
Welcome back to Your Best Life with Dr. Hairston Green, president and founder of Embracing Arms and creator of the brand movement #Your Best Life. It is June and the month that we celebrate our fathers all over the country. Can you get excited about that? As a mother, two of which are males and fathers, I have grown increasingly interested in the plight of fathers and fatherhood. Watching the challenges that they are facing every day has really increased my desire to learn more about other challenges that are facing fathers across the country. And as a paternal grandmother, I've dealt with my own challenges of dealing with my children's fathering and fatherhood. The research has revealed and pretty much squelched the myths and assumptions about what people believe regarding fathers and their participation or lack thereof, and fathers' influence on the overall development of children. What we do know is that current research supports this whole concept that fathers play a significant role in their children's development and have been stepped up in cases of even taking over custody of their children. So at the same time, we recognize that, resources are still designed to support the mother, and the marketing of those resources are still designed to attract the mother. And that's something that just has to change across the country. So this is part one of a series of conversations that I will be having with fathers all over the country to discuss fatherhood, obstacles, their reflection on Black Lives Matter, and their experience in the 21st century. My first guest today is Mr. Malicke Parham. He is a first grade elementary school teacher with the Harrisburg City School District in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He is an entrepreneur. He is a co-parent of one son who is currently attending college. Welcome, Malicke, and thank you for taking the time to be a part of our fatherhood series, My Father, A Conversation. How are you doing this morning?
I'm fine. Thanks for asking. Honored to be here.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about you and why the focus on fatherhood is so important to you, aside from the obvious, but why is, focusing on fatherhood is important to you?
Fathers are the cornerstone of any family, and all too often within our communities, we see the down spiral of the family structure. And one of the main pieces of that is lack of father's presence for whatever reason, domestic, criminal, health, mental, spiritual, whatever the case. Like, if that ideal unit isn't in place, everybody suffers from within the home and anybody that is touched outside of the home. So I just think it's a variable that is very important to the overall sum of the equation.
Okay. So, I've known you for a long time, and I've actually watched
Long time.
long time, and I've actually
time.
watched like your progress, with dealing with your son, some of the obstacles that you had to deal with raising a male in this society, even some of the obstacles that you may have to deal with co-parenting and the difference in parenting styles. What was your biggest challenge regarding parenting styles between you and your child's mother?
Biggest separation.
Mm-hmm.
Separation was the biggest, because it's like when you separate from a person, like, there's the reality and then there's the public perception.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times that public perception can get in the way of what's most important, and that's the child.
Mm-hmm.
And the facades that come with that. Whereas on one hand, it's an understanding of the importance, and then on the other hand, depending on who else might be involved, like new love interest or whatever, that priority can be ignored due to trying to assimilate a new existence. So,
Mhm.
so just like monitoring that and, like withstanding it, because it's enough to drive, like you're already driven apart. And then when those moments of pure lack of visual appreciation, especially to like somebody that needs that motivation. Like, I don't need you kissing my ass or nothing, but like, just, oh, excuse me, I apologize, but just show me. I forgot. I think it's just important that even if you're not with the parent, to just make sure that they remain a priority when it comes to that child, because they are.
Okay.
Nobody can replace either.
Mhm.
So the thought of thinking that it can be done is like putting yourself on the wrong path.
And that's good. I mean, that's good feedback, because one of the things that we also know is that our children are watching the way we're parenting, right? They're
Watching.
watching everything. And sometimes we think that we can kind of be covert in our parenting and our issues that we're having with our co-parents, and that it won't impact our child, but they're paying attention to everything. They're really keen on behaviors and attitudes, shift in attitudes when you and the co-parent is in the same room. And that can have a lasting effect on the way they engage in relationships, and also in the way that they connect with their own children, going forward.
Yeah, it's like you are equipping them with the wrong
Right.
weaponry when you're not handling it responsibly in a responsible manner, because they're always watching.
Always want.
And then what also happens, as I discovered as my child got older, is that those bad habits that were shown by either party become part of their arsenal
Exactly.
whenever they feel the need to be um, defiant. It's, it's a useful tool. I saw them do it. Why not
Why
me?
can't I do it? And that brings me to another question. So, as a father, what is the one thing that you hope your son actually learn from your role, and take into their own parenting?
um, um, to be consistent and steady,
Hmm.
you know, and like, there's a lot of things that I didn't do for my personal self
Hmm.
in order to make sure that I was always there and always able to confront him and at his worst and at his best. Where
Hmm.
so if I would have allowed myself to be um, selfish and more worried about my moment opposed to my responsibility, there's certain things that are so needed for me to say to him that I couldn't say to him, because I necessarily wouldn't have earned that right, nor would I have had the confidence and familiarity with him to confront him.
That's good feedback. What would you say to your son with all of that's happening, with Black Lives Matter, and the recent uprise that's been going on across our country? What messaging are you sending him right now about his safety, and who he is as a Black male in society, coming from a father's voice?
Um, that's funny, because this morning I was prompted to give him a call and ask him how he was feeling, and he's youthful, and what I mean, one one moment he could be on this path, next minute he could be on this path and everything. So he was comparing certain actions and the proposed justification of it due to what's going on, opposed to how those same actions are vilified in other circumstances.
Hmm.
And we were having that conversation, and I was just like, two wrongs don't make a right whenever. While at the same time, it's hard to box put pain in a box and say how people should react, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I had to bring attention to him, you know, historical actions of his own and how he responded at that given time where he felt that he was being slighted when he was hurting and stuff like that, you know, and just to show him that, you know, regardless of the situation, you always have to have an open mind towards how people react, whether right or wrong. Now,
Mm-hmm.
do all systems operate like that? No, the justice system does not act like that. Like it's black and white. But as humans and as leaders, we have to exhibit compassion if we want those under us and following us to show it on their own.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great advice. You know, just showing compassion and being open-minded to what's going on. Yeah. And being,
Because it seems like, sorry to cut you off, but it just seems like during this time of confusion and despair, we know it's hard. It's a hard battle to fight the system. It's a hard battle to fight the cops and all that, to the point that it's like kind of seems fruitless.
mm-hmm.
But instead of us taking on that task and figuring out how to do it appropriately, we abandoned that and just start bickering amongst ourselves.
Right.
And that's so counterproductive and what they want us to do.
Right. Well, thank you for that feedback. Give me one advice or that you can give to someone else who's experiencing co-parenting right now. What one advice would you give to them to help them through this process?
Stand on your right and use all possible ways of communication.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you guys are arguing, that doesn't mean that you have to cower away or abandon what you feel your truth is. Send the email, send the text.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Communicate your thought so that whenever that other person has the time to, there's something there for them to digest, opposed to just being sour off of the last interaction that y'all had.
Mm-hmm. So effective communication, that seems to be like a theme throughout our conversation today, like being open-minded, having some effective communication, and being patient. Being patient. So, but thank you for that great feedback. I got some lightning questions for you. So are you ready for it? You got a couple of seconds. I'm gonna run through a couple of things. I just want you
Drum
to
roll
real quick.
Yeah,
ready? So here's the lightning question section. Breast milk versus formula.
Breast milk.
Sleeping in your bed versus sleeping in their own bed.
Come on, buddy.
Parents who use leashes for their children.
No leash.
Spanking versus timeouts.
Whoop that.
A mix, okay. Remix.
Now, I'll tell you this, like, no beating should come without counsel. And after a certain age, beating should be the farthest from your thought, because, like, you are starting to deal with an adult. And the last thing that you want that adult to learn is that every solution is physical. You want to start, there comes a time that you really want to start focusing on the mental of that child.
That's
Sorry,
good.
we were supposed to be lightning quick,
That's
but
good.
I wanted
That's
to
all
share
right.
that.
Last one. Raising religious children or allowing your children to explore their own religious path.
Raise them under some doctrine and allow them to grow beyond it if they choose to.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Malicke, again for taking the time to speak with me today. It was a pleasure as usual. We always have amazing conversations.
Always.
And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. If there was something that you heard today that it energized you or triggered some thinking or some additional questions, please remind yourself to comment below. Also, I want you to like and share and subscribe, and join us again next week when we do part 2 for our 4-part series, My Father, A Conversation. Happy Father's Day to you, Malicke, and for all of the men out there across the country raising amazing children. Please remember to go out and embrace someone. They are waiting on you. Continue to live your best life.
Hello, Embracing Arms community. This is Malicke Parham, a Harrisburg City School District educator, and I am just stopping by to remind you to live your best life.
The foundation. Malicke, boy, this is my residence. My prescription, boy, this is my medicine. The world can be sickening, living in house resemblance. Not to mention the media's effort to keep us in the most simplistic.